Dubai, a city of wealth, ambition, and unyielding luxury. From above, it gleams like a jewel in the desert, where fortunes are built and secrets lie hidden beneath sparkling facades. Here, every glittering tower hides a story, and every opulent yacht floats atop currents of desire, power, and intrigue. In this city, appearances are everything, but behind the shine, shadows quietly wait. Natasha Karim moved through her life like a figure in a meticulously staged photograph. To the outside world, she embodied elegance, poise, and charm. But beneath her polished surface, there was a restlessness, a hunger for something beyond wealth, beyond comfort. Desire, ambition, and the lure of power began to intertwine in ways that would soon have deadly consequences. Sheikh Rashid al-Mansour, a man whose influence stretched across oil, real estate, and banking, was revered by many and envied by more. Behind his carefully curated public image, however, lay private indulgences and desires that few could glimpse. When his life intersected with Natasha's, a collision of ambition and passion was set in motion, one that neither of them could have foreseen. What began as a polite introduction at a gala soon evolved into clandestine meetings in shadowed penthouses, far from the public eye. Desire, secrecy, and ambition converged in rooms filled with opulence, where every whispered word carried risk, and every gesture could tip the balance between fascination and danger. Beneath the glitter of Dubai's elite, a different world existed, a network of wealth, transfers, and hidden accounts. Natasha's connection with Sheikh Rashid left a trail of transactions that would later reveal motives, manipulation, and deception. Money, often seen as security and status, became a thread in a deadly tapestry of ambition and betrayal. Behind the polished exterior of Natasha Karim's life lay secrets that only technology could capture. Late at night, in the quiet of her villa, she sent messages encrypted to conceal their content, words of planning, persuasion, and subtle threats. These digital footprints, invisible to the casual observer, would later become a critical piece of evidence, tracing her actions and intentions in minute detail. Every ping, every discreet notification carried a weight of ambition and desire, hinting at a mind constantly calculating risk and reward, unaware that these messages would one day expose the deadly trajectory of her choices. In the stillness of a July morning, a dark SUV sat quietly outside the Karim villa, its occupants concealed behind tinted windows. To the neighbors, it was just another luxury vehicle. But to investigators, every detail mattered. The timing of its arrival, its position, and the unknown intentions of those inside. Surveillance, coordination, and hidden observers, all elements of a complex story that would soon unfold. In the world of Dubai's elite, such details are rarely accidental, and in this case, they marked the beginning of a deadly encounter, a silent witness to events that no one could yet imagine. What took place within these walls was the turning point, a moment where desire, ambition, and desperation collided. Investigators would later reconstruct the altercation through forensic evidence, scuff marks on marble floors, smudged fingerprints, and subtle traces of blood revealing the intensity of the confrontation. What began as a conversation about money, control, and secrecy escalated into panic, fear, and ultimately violence. Every overturned object, every displaced rug, became a silent testimony to the human impulses that led two powerful individuals to a tragic and irreversible outcome. The aftermath transformed the villa into a chamber of scrutiny. Forensic teams combed through every surface, every corner, every detail that could tell the story of what had happened. Fingerprints, blood spatter, and fibers were meticulously cataloged, each piece of evidence a silent witness to the fatal confrontation. Investigators worked tirelessly, reconstructing events minute by minute, tracing movements, uncovering attempts at concealment. The villa, once a symbol of wealth and luxury, had become a canvas of human error, desperation, and the inexorable consequences of choices driven by greed and desire. The story of the crime was not written solely in blood. It was written in numbers, transactions, and the quiet hum of digital transfers spanning continents. Natasha's access to Sheikh Rashid's fortune left a trail of evidence: offshore accounts in Switzerland, shell companies in the Cayman Islands, and payments that flowed in precise, calculated patterns. Investigators painstakingly traced millions of dollars, uncovering connections that revealed motives, manipulation, and the cold calculus of ambition. In these financial ledgers, the invisible threads of desire, deception, and greed were laid bare, exposing a reality far more intricate than the polished public lives of those involved. Behind closed doors, Natasha Karim meticulously reviewed the flow of millions of dollars, tracing transfers to and from accounts hidden across the globe. Each ledger entry, each encrypted notification, told a story invisible to anyone outside her inner circle. Investigators later revealed that she had orchestrated the movement of funds to ensure control over both the financial and personal aspects of her relationship with Sheikh Rashid. In those moments, the villa became a quiet command center of strategy, secrecy, and silent pressure. The precision and determination in her actions suggested that this was not merely an affair of passion. It was a calculated game of power and influence, one that would have far-reaching consequences. Every keystroke, every authorization of a transfer, was a step along a path that would culminate in tragedy. The opulence surrounding her masked a web of ambition, manipulation, and risk, a combination that ultimately fueled the events that investigators would painstakingly unravel in the months to come. The dark SUV waited silently, unassuming to the casual observer, yet every detail mattered to investigators piecing together the sequence of events. This vehicle, parked strategically outside the Karim villa, became a silent witness to the fatal morning that was about to unfold. Through painstaking analysis of its presence, investigators later concluded that the SUV was not merely incidental. It was likely a component of a larger orchestration, a shadowy element that added complexity to the crime. From its tinted windows, the occupants could observe comings and goings, track movements, and potentially provide assistance or coordination. Each passing moment, unnoticed by neighbors, contributed to the tension building inside the villa. In this setting, the convergence of surveillance, secrecy, and human ambition created the perfect environment for tragedy. The SUV, like a silent sentinel, recorded nothing in words but left a digital footprint, a testimony to the calculated tension, fear, and anticipation that would soon erupt into violence. Inside the living room, what had once been a sanctuary of comfort and elegance became the stage for a deadly confrontation. Investigators pieced together the scene through blood spatter analysis, fingerprint smudges, and disturbed objects, revealing the intensity and unpredictability of the altercation. Natasha and Sheikh Rashid, two figures bound by desire, ambition, and secrecy, were now caught in a moment where control, fear, and desperation collided. Every overturned rug, every shifted chair, every faint trace of blood was a silent witness, speaking volumes about the sudden escalation that led to fatal consequences. What may have begun as a discussion over finances or trust rapidly transformed into panic and chaos. Later, forensic experts would reconstruct the timeline, confirming that the fatal act occurred within minutes, yet the preparation and underlying tension had been building over months. The living room, bathed in soft morning light, concealed the violence within, highlighting the stark contrast between luxury and human vulnerability, glamour and tragedy. The villa, now a crime scene, became a meticulous laboratory of human truth. Forensic teams worked methodically, documenting fingerprints, photographing blood spatter, and collecting fibers, each piece a critical clue in unraveling the sequence of events. Investigators would later use this evidence to reconstruct minute details: the placement of the letter opener, the trajectory of the struggle, and even attempts to conceal evidence. Every action, from wiping surfaces to moving objects, left traces, silent witnesses that told a story far more complex than initial impressions suggested. The meticulous documentation transformed chaos into clarity, revealing patterns of desperation, planning, and calculated decisions. Behind the luxury, the glamour, and the polished surfaces lay an intricate narrative of ambition, manipulation, and human vulnerability. The forensic work did more than solve a crime. It exposed the fragility of appearances, proving that even in the most controlled environments, secrets cannot remain hidden forever. Digital footprints, often invisible to the naked eye, became the backbone of the investigation. Natasha's laptop and connected devices held a wealth of encrypted messages, financial records, and meticulously logged communications. Investigators spent weeks decrypting these files, uncovering patterns that revealed motives, intentions, and the escalation of events leading to tragedy. Each message, each authorization, each transfer became evidence of manipulation, premeditation, and careful orchestration. The digital trail told a story of ambition intertwined with desire, of calculated moves masked as spontaneity, and of secrecy that ultimately betrayed its owner. These devices, silent witnesses in their own right, captured the hidden narrative of a deadly encounter, transforming abstract suspicion into a tangible and irrefutable chain of proof. In this high-tech forensic world, nothing disappears entirely. Every action leaves a trace, and every secret eventually surfaces under scrutiny. In the weeks leading up to the tragic morning, deliveries to the Karim villa became more frequent and more discreet. Packages arrived without labels, unmarked envelopes stacked with precision, all designed to avoid attracting attention. Investigators later discovered that some contained luxury items, while others were used to conceal sensitive financial documents. Each delivery, seemingly mundane, was a piece in a larger puzzle of secrecy and manipulation. In the world of the ultra-wealthy, couriers, envelopes, and quiet transactions often carry stories hidden from public view. For Natasha, these deliveries represented control, power, and a way to shield her growing ambitions from exposure. Yet each act of concealment became evidence. The very mechanisms intended to protect her secrets became traceable footprints, guiding investigators toward a deeper understanding of her actions. In this carefully orchestrated environment, the ordinary became extraordinary, a silent testimony to human ambition, calculated risk, and the unseen forces that would culminate in tragedy. As dawn broke over Dubai Marina, the Karim villa stood silent, its beauty masking the tension within. Investigators would later reconstruct this morning as a turning point when private ambition collided with secrecy and desire. The stillness outside belied the storm inside, where careful planning, financial pressure, and personal conflict would converge. Every shadow cast by the rising sun mirrored the invisible weight of choices made in secrecy. Surveillance, encrypted messages, and subtle orchestration had brought two powerful individuals to a single moment of reckoning. In the hours before the tragedy, each movement, each preparation became critical. The villa, bathed in the first light of day, concealed more than wealth and luxury. It concealed fear, desperation, and the inevitability of a confrontation that would leave irreversible consequences. Investigators later noted that these early hours were pivotal, a quiet prelude to violence, a moment when human ambition met the fragile threshold of morality. The living room, once a space of elegance and opulence, became a scene of sudden chaos. Investigators found overturned furniture, smudged fingerprints, and subtle traces of blood, each detail revealing the intensity of the confrontation. Forensic analysis later confirmed that these disturbances were not random. They marked the moments of panic, desperation, and loss of control. Objects moved or displaced became silent witnesses, documenting a struggle that escalated from conversation to violence within minutes. In this environment of wealth, the contrast between luxury and human vulnerability was stark. Every scuff mark on the floor, every dislodged item told a story of ambition colliding with fear, desire clashing with morality. The room itself became a character in the narrative, embodying the tension, the unpredictability, and the ultimate tragedy that unfolded behind closed doors, hidden from the glamorous eyes of Dubai society. Forensic teams worked tirelessly, each photograph capturing evidence that would later become central to the case. Fingerprints, blood spatter, and personal items were meticulously catalogued, each a fragment of the story of what had transpired. Investigators treated the villa as both a crime scene and a narrative, piecing together sequences of events with painstaking attention to detail. Every angle, every frame, every shadow told a part of the truth that would otherwise remain hidden. In this meticulous process, the human drama behind wealth and luxury became visible. The desperation, ambition, and errors of judgment that led to irreversible consequences. These photographs, silent yet eloquent, transformed chaos into clarity, revealing a story of human vulnerability, calculated decisions, and the relentless pursuit of truth beneath a glamorous exterior. The painstaking forensic work would later prove indispensable in establishing motive, opportunity, and accountability in this high-profile crime. The financial trail was intricate, sprawling across continents and hidden behind layers of shell companies, offshore accounts, and encrypted communications. Investigators painstakingly reconstructed a web of transactions linking Natasha Karim to Sheikh Rashid's wealth, uncovering millions in transfers concealed through a network of banks in Switzerland, the Cayman Islands, and London. Each transaction, each ledger entry, provided insight into motive, premeditation, and manipulation. Money, often considered a neutral force, became a powerful instrument of control, ambition, and deception. The more investigators delved, the clearer it became that financial networks were not merely about wealth, they were about influence, secrecy, and human intent. In the shadows of luxury, these invisible flows of capital documented a story of desire, risk, and the deadly consequences of unchecked ambition. Every account, every wire transfer became a digital fingerprint, tracing the path toward the fatal confrontation. In the quiet of night, Natasha Karim sat alone, immersed in documents, messages, and financial records. Investigators later identified this as a period where decisions were calculated, fears magnified, and ambition sharpened. The luxury surrounding her, silken curtains, panoramic city views, and designer furnishings, belied the tension, the careful planning, and the moral compromises she was making. Every keystroke, every envelope sorted, and every note written became a step in a path that would culminate in tragedy. The isolation amplified both clarity and obsession as she balanced desire, risk, and secrecy. Observers later remarked that these moments reflected a convergence of human vulnerability and calculated intent. The villa, a sanctuary by day, had become a crucible of pressure, where decisions unseen by the world were quietly shaping the irreversible events that awaited the coming morning. CCTV footage, often overlooked in daily life, became a cornerstone of the investigation. Multiple cameras captured subtle movements around the Karim villa, the arrival of visitors, the dark SUV parked discreetly, and Natasha's early morning activity. Analysts painstakingly pieced together sequences frame by frame, reconstructing the timeline of events. Each pixel, each timestamp, became evidence, revealing a network of preparation, secrecy, and calculated actions. Investigators later noted that these digital eyes had silently recorded moments of human ambition, fear, and desperation. The footage transformed uncertainty into narrative, exposing patterns of behavior that hinted at motive and intent. In the high-stakes world of wealth and influence, even shadows can speak, and every surveillance angle became a witness to the unfolding tragedy. The grainy images revealed what appearances alone could not: a calculated tension, a convergence of desire and ambition, and the inevitability of the fatal outcome. The traces of blood left behind were more than mere stains. They were testimony. Each droplet, smear, and pattern was meticulously analyzed, revealing the intensity of the struggle and the sequence of the confrontation. Forensic experts mapped trajectories, matched fingerprints, and connected minute fibers to reconstruct the moments leading to the fatal incident. Investigators emphasized that these traces told a story that words could not, documenting both the violence of the moment and the attempts at concealment that followed. In a home defined by wealth and elegance, the blood became a stark reminder of human vulnerability, moral error, and the consequences of desire entwined with ambition. The forensic markers transformed chaos into clarity, illuminating the sequence of events and leaving little room for doubt about the reality of what had transpired behind closed doors. Every pattern, every stain, became a silent witness to a tragedy hidden in plain sight. The courtroom became the arena where secrets, evidence, and ambition collided with justice. Natasha Karim faced scrutiny not just from the law, but from a society riveted by the story of wealth, desire, and betrayal. Prosecutors presented financial records, forensic evidence, and digital communications with precision, revealing months of manipulation and premeditated action. Witness testimonies described the lead-up to the confrontation, the tension in the villa, and the aftermath of violence. The trial was more than a legal proceeding. It was a narrative laid bare for the world to see. Analysts later emphasized the irony of wealth as both protection and exposure, as every meticulously curated detail of privilege became evidence against her. In this courtroom, the convergence of desire, ambition, and consequence became undeniable. Justice, impartial and relentless, illuminated the fragility of secrecy, demonstrating that even in worlds of influence and luxury, human actions cannot remain hidden forever. The story of Natasha Karim and Sheikh Rashid al-Mansour reflects ambition, desire, and consequence. In Dubai's towers and shadowed villas, wealth and charm can hide greed, vulnerability, and betrayal. Investigators uncovered financial trails, forensic evidence, and digital secrets revealing a deadly mix of secrecy and ambition. The result: a life lost, trust shattered, and fortune scrutinized, serves as a cautionary tale. Unchecked desire and pursuit of power can destroy even the most privileged. No secret remains hidden forever,